Hi, thanks Joe and Tom D and Enda and Tony and George for your comments in this string. I'm trying a little experiment here, trying to reply by video rather than sitting here writing something out. I think this is a really interesting conversation about small groups. Tom McMahon has a similar experience to what Enda's written about, that the group that he set up many years ago hasn't continued on. You know, the original members of it are now elderly and dying out, and I wonder, in similar way to what Tony's asked, you know, whether it's possible to have a sustainable community. I feel a bit weird in this conversation because these days I've become a bit of a hermit. I think I keep trying to analyse why I'm so engrossed in this internet activity because it's a very single, solitary sort of occupation. And I was working down in my garden today. It's, well, I look a bit like the wreck of the Hesperus. It's been wet up here. And I was thinking while I was down there that I could as easily be as satisfied just working by myself down in my garden. Nobody else wants to go down there because it's so strenuous getting down, or not so much getting down there as getting back up. I think I use up as much energy just making the trip down and back without actually doing any work while I'm down there. But because of the hurt that I went through, I think, I wonder, you know, I probably need a shrink or something to analyse this, but as to, I've dropped out of a need for having a sense of community anymore. You know, parish, even family to some extent. I'm very happy with my own company. I never get bored. I used to get bored once. It's so long ago since I've been bored that I can't remember it. But I have a sense that this idea of community is important, and I wonder, in whatever evolves in the whole religious sphere, how important this element of community might be. I think the old parish model of, you know, a parish of 1,000 people is virtually dead. You can't have a community of 1,000 people. It's partly the problem that I'm confronting. I've confronted ever since I've been involved in this internet activity, and I've written about it. You can't have a conversation with 1,000 people. The limitation is that there are simply not enough minutes in each day for every person to say something and to listen to 1,000 other people and to respond. So we're limited, it seems, by nature itself as to the size of communities that we have. You know, my daughter has a so-called 1,046 friends on Facebook. Well, I think it's impossible. It's impossible to have that many friends. Most older people you find on Facebook tend to have, you know, 30 or 40, maybe 50. But young people have, you know, these thousands. There's almost some sort of competition to see how many friends you can have. But you can't have a serious relationship with 1,000 people. And the limitation is simply the amount of time that we have in each day, or in each week, or in each month. So I think the future will tend to be, just from a natural process, and this limitation of time that we're becoming more aware of, that the size of communities will tend to be small. So this opens up a great conversation. I must learn how to record on Skype, because I have video conversations with Tom McMahon, and perhaps I could have a conversation with him rather than a sort of monologue like this, and share what Tom has to say from his experience over many years of his community of Jesus Our Brother in San Jose, because his experience is very similar to what Ender's talking about. Just before I go, one other thought that's occurred to me, I was thinking about this today. The young lad we've got staying with us is looking for a job, and he's a bit frustrated at the moment. And my daughter's in the same boat. She's just returned from England, and she's still looking for a job, you know, filled in many job applications and so on. And I wonder, do young people today, when they're in a moment of crisis, do they pray, you know, either in frustration, you know, my God, why have you forsaken me? Or is there a pleading out there for assistance, but not to a person, but to the Gaia or God or something? And I must have a talk to these young people about that and just see what space they're in. I know, you know, from my experience in life, when I was in moments of crisis, you know, you'd go and say decades of the rosary, or you'd go to Mass a bit more often, or you'd say your night prayers or something. I still have a sense of that. I don't have a sense of, you know, God up in the sky anymore, but in moments of tension, you know, and I call out to something or someone, but I can't really articulate who it is or what it is anymore, but I believe there is a presence somewhere that can provide us with guidance, provide us with some sense of comfort, and that's important. But anyway, let's continue this conversation, and thank you very much, Joe, and Tom D, because it really started with you, for introducing this whole topic. I think it's a marvellous idea of actually getting together with friends and having a meal, but not just a meal because you've got to have a meal, but turning it into some sort of a semi-liturgical sort of event, or a spiritual nourishment for the participants at that meal. Thank you. I'll end this little video with my favourite song from Amanda at the moment.
Breath of Creator, essence of stardust, Lord.